Joan of Arc, the teenager who defied expectations. She was only a teenager, but in an age of kings, warriors, and priests, she became a legend. Her name was Joan of Arc. Born in 1412 in a small French village called Domremy, Joan was just an ordinary farm girl. She spent her days tending animals, helping her parents, and praying in a tiny chapel. France, at that time, was torn apart by the 100 Years' War between France and England. Cities burned, villages starved, and hope was fading. But one night everything changed. When Joan was just 13 years old, she said she heard a voice, a divine calling. The voice of Saint Michael, she said, told her that she was chosen to save France. Imagine that for a second, a teenage girl in the 1400s, believing she was destined to lead an army. People would have laughed. Women weren't soldiers. They weren't leaders. They weren't even allowed to fight. But Joan didn't care about what the world said. She believed deeply, fiercely, and completely. Music builds slowly. At 16, she left her home to meet the heir to the French throne, Charles VII. She traveled across war-torn lands through enemy lines, with nothing but her faith guiding her. When she arrived, she demanded an audience with the prince himself. And when Charles tested her, disguising himself among his courtiers to see if she'd recognize him, Joan walked straight to him and said, "God has sent me to you." From that moment, everything changed. Charles gave her a small army, not because he believed in her, but because he had nothing left to lose. France was collapsing, but Joan had something the soldiers didn't: fire. She wore armor, carried a banner of God, and rode into battle with men twice her age following her lead. Her faith was contagious. Soldiers began to believe again. At the Siege of Orléans, Joan's bravery turned the tide. She charged into battle even after being struck by an arrow. And when the city finally fell to France's hands, she became a national hero. They called her the Maid of Orléans, and for a moment it seemed like she was unstoppable. Music shifts, darker tone. But with greatness comes jealousy, and soon, the politics began. Church leaders doubted her. Nobles feared her power. Enemies plotted her downfall. In 1430, Joan was captured by the Burgundians, allies of the English. She was thrown into a cold, dark cell, betrayed by the same people she once fought for. They accused her of witchcraft, heresy, and dressing like a man. The trial was unfair, brutal, and twisted. She stood alone, a 19-year-old girl, facing the might of the church and the crown. But even then, she refused to betray her faith. Even when they threatened her life, her last words before being burned alive were, "Hold the cross high so I may see it through the flames." Pause, silence for a few seconds. The fire that consumed her body didn't destroy her legacy. It lit a flame that would burn for centuries. 25 years after her death, the same church that condemned her declared her innocent. And in 1920, Joan of Arc was declared a saint. Today, her name stands for courage, faith, and the power of believing in your own voice, even when the world tries to silence it. Because Joan wasn't just a warrior. She was proof that destiny doesn't care about your age, gender, or background. It only cares about your courage to follow the calling within. So if you've ever been told you're too young, too small, or not enough, remember her story. Remember the girl who rose from a farm to lead a nation. Remember Joan of Arc, the teenager who defied expectations and became immortal in history. Be brave, be faithful, be unstoppable. If you still want to see more powerful stories like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join me for the next video that will inspire your soul.